World. It is Fox Across America with Jimmy Failla, a man who has never chanted, "Let's go Brandon," at a sporting event. Joining us now on the line, a man who has, superstar senator from the great state of Texas, damn good friend of the show, Senator Ted Cruz, back in the house. Hey, man.
Jimmy, great to be with you. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure watching you on the TikTok, sir. And I've been rooting pretty hard for your Astros because, you know, as a New Yorker, I would rather root for the Taliban than the Boston Red Sox.
Oh, well, look, so we're united in that. I will say last night was horrifically painful. Could we stop giving up grand slams, for God's sakes? So I took my daughter Catherine, who's 10. We went to game 1 and game 2. Game 1 was awesome. Game 2 sucked. 2 grand slams in the first 2 innings. By the way, I tried to spin it to Catherine afterwards. I said, after those 2 grand slams, we won 5-1, but it's just sort of a problem when you bank eight runs first, and then to do it again last night. The only advantage is I watched it after the game on DVR, so I could fast forward through it and just watch the score going up like the dials on a pinball machine.
It was bad.
It was painful, but you know what? Look, we can bat. We just can't pitch right now. I mean, could the Yanks give us Cole back? I mean, we only paid $300 million to take him from us.
Well, listen, to be clear, I think they would if they could, given the way he pitched in the playoffs.
Well, all right, fair enough. Fair enough.
It's on the table, man. I mean, we're shipping so many people into New York right now. It would be nice to ship one out. Did you follow the story of Biden sneaking migrant children into our state under the cover of darkness?
I did, and you know what? There's a reason they're doing that, which is they want to hide. They have no solution. We've had over 1.3 million people cross illegally into the country. It's expected to cross 2 million this year, and this is a result of political decisions. Their only solution is to try to cover it up, and so they want to. They're counting on the corrupt corporate media not to cover this, and so they do, midnight flights, hoping that no one will notice and no one will cover it, and it's incredibly cynical.
I got to tell you though, it's also confusing to migrants because when you get dropped off in New York City, you look around and assume you're back in a Northern Triangle nation.
It is a fair point, although, as you know, today I've actually introduced legislation that's not far from that, and it really tees off of the hypocrisy of so many Democrats who say, gosh, you people worried about this illegal immigration, you're just ignorant Neanderthals, it's not a problem, never mind. And Texas is bearing the brunt of it. Yep. You take a city like Del Rio, Texas, where, we had 15,000 illegal immigrants, Haitians, all in one day under the bridge. The entire population of Del Rio is about 35,000, so half the city came in a single day. So what I've done today is I introduced legislation that's called Stop the Surge Act, and it creates new ports of entry for processing the illegal immigrants to move them from South Texas to the places that rich Democrats like to go and party. So it includes Martha's Vineyard, it includes Nantucket, it includes Newport, Rhode Island, it includes Scarsdale. And my view is if they're going to say it's not a big deal, I want to see a bunch of waspy Democrats at their country club in Martha's Vineyard going, oh, dear God, as they see tens of thousands of illegal immigrants in the Biden cages. Don't hide them, but see the suffering these guys are created.
If you're just joining us, Senator Ted Cruz, legendary troll who just made the Hall of Fame with that announcement. They just voted you into Cooperstown on the first ballot for that. Have you gotten any response from your Democratic colleagues about taking them in?
I haven't yet, but we've got hearings coming up, actually the full list. So I'll read you the list of where we would move the illegal immigrants.
I love this. This is amazing.
Block Island, Rhode Island, Greenwich, Connecticut, Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts, Cambridge, Massachusetts, Governor's Island, New York, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Big fan. Joe Biden's a big fan of that. Nantucket, Massachusetts, Newport, Rhode Island, Scarsdale, New York, Palo Alto, California, St. Helena, California, Yountville, California, which is, of course, where the French Laundry is, that Gavin Newsom likes to party it up, and North Hero, Vermont, where Bernie Sanders likes to relax on his vacation. So if it's not a problem, they should be thrilled to have 2 million illegal immigrants showing up in Martha's Vineyard.
Oh, this is so hilarious. Man, really, seriously, good for you. And they deserve this. And it's true. Every point you're making here is true. They keep passing rules, whether we're talking about, the relocation of migrants, whether we're talking about masks, they're passing rules that they themselves have no intention of adhering to. The rules don't affect them. And I think they're really just openly daring people, into a state of civil disobedience, especially when it comes to the masks, where you see Biden walking around a restaurant with no mask. Now, answer me this, because you know a lot about Washington. Is it possible that at this point he's vaccinated, he's also gotten the booster? Are they just making him wear a mask so he doesn't sniff any women's hair in public?
My view on the mask with Democrats is for too many of them, it's not tight enough. We can still hear them talk. Listen, the utter hypocrisy when it comes to masks. As you know, Joe Biden, Jill Biden walking through a D.C. restaurant not wearing masks, and their view is their rules are for the little people. You saw Barack Obama's 60th birthday party in Martha's Vineyard. Dancing away on the disco floor, rich Democrats, none of them had a mask, not a one of them, because the rules don't apply for them. Or even more revealing was when Nancy Pelosi had a swanky fundraiser in San Francisco, a bunch of rich Democratic donors, none of them, zero wearing a mask. But they made all the serving staff wear masks. And that really shows the hypocrisy. If you're a poor waitress and you're serving caviar to these gilded rulers, the rules apply to you, but to them, they believe they're exempt, and it shows the utter hypocrisy.
It does, and there's this other thing, too. I just think they have such a condescending attitude towards voters. You'll shut up and take it. And I feel like our politics got to this place where people will vote for their party ahead of their progress. Like, that's what's happening on the left. It's the only way a guy like Gavin Newsom survives in California. California, I don't take any joy in saying it, is a dump, but people would rather claim their party got a win, even if it comes at the expense of their society getting a loss. But do you get the feeling now? Because there's nowhere to turn for the Biden administration and say they have a deliverable. There's nothing they've been able to deliver to voters that's improved the quality of anyone's life. Do you get the feeling people are waking up to that now?
I think a lot of people are. You're right. There's a lot of tribalism. And you look at the California race. Number one, it's worth pausing and reflecting what a big deal it is that we had a recall there, that Californians rose up and said, this is insane that you are destroying millions of small businesses. You're destroying restaurants and bars and stores and all sorts of places that had been family businesses just destroyed by the arrogance of politicians. Millions of school kids having their schools shut down for a year or more. The fact that California had a recall was a big deal. But then, Jimmy, what you pointed out is exactly right. So Newsom was in real trouble, and then they engaged in some politically cynical behavior, which is Larry Elder was the leading Republican alternative, African-American talk show host. So the first thing they did is the L.A. Times called Larry Elder a black man, the face of white supremacy. This is literally rich white Democrats calling black men white supremacists. I mean, there's a good Yiddish word for that, chutzpah, and these guys have it through and through. But then what they did, and this is their only game plan, is they tried to convince the voters of California that Larry Elder was Donald Trump. So the one thing that motivates leftists is they hate Donald J. Trump. They wake up in DTs like thrashing in bed, screaming, "Orange man bad, Orange man bad." And sadly, the voters of California were convinced Donald Trump was coming to get them at night, and so voted to keep dictatorial Newsom in place. That's their strategy at every election is they rely on fear. That motivates partisans, but I got to tell you, I think there are a lot of suburban moms, there are a lot of regular folks who are watching the extreme radical agenda of this administration, are really unhappy about it, and I think 2022 is going to be a tidal wave election like 2010 was, and I think more and more of the Democrats are seeing that tidal wave coming.
They are, and you know what? It's funny. Ted Cruz is on the line if you're just joining us, and it's funny to see the spin attempt right now. Pete Buttigieg, if you caught this yesterday, or excuse me, it was on Sunday, tried to make the case that the supply chain is out of control. Things are going bad because of just how good they're going. And listen, I smoked a lot of weed in college. I drank a lot of beer. But there's no world where I would have came up with that as a defense for anything, no?
Well, I mean, it is the absolute arrogance. Look how good you have it. The related point that Ron Klain, Biden's chief of staff, said is that inflation is a high-class problem because it's only rich people that worry about it. Apparently, poor people and working-class people, they don't buy food. Apparently, they don't have rent. Apparently, they don't put gasoline in their car. Apparently, they don't buy diapers for their kids. Inflation hammers those with fixed incomes, those with the working class. Remember Barack Obama years ago talking about inflation said, have you seen how high the price of arugula is? This is the disconnected Democrats. To be honest, Jimmy, no, I have not seen the price of arugula, and I hope to leave this planet never knowing the price of arugula, damn it. But that's their view, and so Buttigieg, mind you, he just spent 2 months on paternity leave where he didn't show up at work. The guy's a friggin' cabinet secretary. He took 2 months off, told nobody, didn't announce it to the press. The press didn't cover it. Think for a second about all of the reporters at the Transportation Department. You would think after 2 months someone would notice, hey, wasn't there a secretary dude that used to come to work here? and like he stays at home for 2 months, doesn't work. Now, on any given day, look, if the Transportation Secretary doesn't show up, BFD, like, okay, who could tell you what the Transportation Secretary does? He happens to pick when we're having a supply chain crisis where grocery store aisles are empty and ships are stacked up off the coast of California, and he picks right then to say, hey, I'm staying home for 2 months, and let's be clear, it's not like he's recovering from giving birth.
Yeah.
He's on a 2 month just AWOL from work because apparently cabinet secretaries don't need to show up at work.
Well, let me just defend him quick because we're under 30 seconds. It isn't easy to sit there and take a selfie for Instagram, Senator Cruz, and you got to know that.
Well, and you might even say that being with newborn infants who are drooling and defecating is actually good preparation for dealing with Congress.
Boom! There it is! The epic troll at the buzzer, Ted Cruz. We love you, man. Be good. We'll see you soon. He's the best.